Snowmen and snowball fights popping up all across the area, and it looks like humans are not the only ones getting in on the cold weather fun. Take a look at Frosty Llama, who lives on a farm in Bedford. Got out for a little enjoyment in the white stuff. Looks like he may love the snow even more than most of us, and plans to enjoy it further in the near. Oh, look at this cutie too. Is this all on the same farm? I want to be at this farm. Llamas and cute children?
Culture.
Hi, News 12. I just won the voice.
Community.
The first shot went into the arm of Port Washington nurse Sandra Lindsay.
Connections.
Seems like so much fun.
It was pretty hectic.
Discover News 12 New York.
Hey, look, we're happy, right?
A new way to see the best of News 12's local channels from across the tri-state area, all in one place. Now streaming 24/7 on your favorite devices. Discover News 12 New York today.
Developing right now on News 12 and News12.com, fire officials are investigating the cause of an early morning house fire in New City. It happened on Strawtown Road between Jane Francis Way and Door Court around 5:30 this morning. Clarkstown police say no injuries have been reported at this time, but a firefighter did suffer a burn to his hand. Stay with News 12 and News12.com for the very latest on this story.
On a positive note, they prayed he would recover. And now, after a life and death battle with COVID-19, a Suffolk pastor is reunited with his family. Our Tama Ponton has the details.
A miraculous exit. That is what one doctor here at Stony Brook says about a Hauppauge pastor who left the hospital today. Pastor Doug Jansen was released from Stony Brook after spending weeks here with a severe case of COVID. And as you can see and hear, he was released to the sound of applause, not just from his family, but also the doctors and nurses responsible for his care. We are told that it took about 100 people to get him through his COVID journey. Now, we spoke with Jansen's family who were there as he was released from the hospital and put into the ambulance so he could go home. And this release is remarkable considering his wife says that Pastor Jansen was here during the height of COVID, comforting other COVID patients with no idea that he would get the disease himself.
Organizing parades, people coming around the hospital just to pray for doctors and nurses, those suffering. He would walk in with boxes and boxes of donuts and say, is there anything else, that I can do? We're praying for you as a church. And just absolutely, everything that he poured out came back around to him at this very hospital.
Kelly Jansen says her husband spent more than 8 weeks here in the hospital being treated with COVID, and she says being able to walk out with him today was one of the best days of her life. At Stony Brook University Hospital, I'm Tama Ponton, News 12, Long Island.
Valentine's Day, you may not think of home improvement, but Lowe's hoping to change that with a night of lomance. Oh yeah. Couples in 10 metro areas can enter to win a Valentine's Day evening of painting. It involves color choices, a huge canvas, splashing, rolling, and having fun. People outside the selected cities are being offered a virtual cooking class. I disagree. Agree to do my home improvement projects. I call that romantic, Rich. Very romantic.
And even in our video, there's more women in the stores now than men,
right?
And they are much better than me. So
help me
and
out.
a lot
I
of men.
got some redesigning to do.
And I think they have more home improvement shows now too, the women. So they're great. They can come fix my house anytime they want because I can't do it. I need help.
It's almost lunchtime. So in today's Chef's Quick Tip, News 12's Tina Redwine is showing us how to make a delicious sub.
I'm Tina Redwine with today's quick tip. Joining us is Chef
Dave from Planet Pizza in Norwalk.
He's going to teach us how to make a great tasting, good looking sub.
First, you're going to grab your bread, and you're going to take your olive oil, red vinegar, get both sides. Then you're going to
just
take
a
your
little?
Lettuce. Yeah, just a little bit. Take your lettuce and tomato. There you go. Then you want to start with your meats. Start stacking your meats and layering them. You want to do 2 layers. You want everybody to see the different dimensions, the different colors.
So what do you have on yours? What meat?
We're doing ham, salami, provolone. Fold them over, flip them. Then another layer, 2 layers. And this is what we end up with.
Impressive. And this tip is online. Just search for News 12 Connecticut Quick Tip Sub with Chef Dave. Tina Redwine, News 12 Connecticut.
In local sports, a goodbye to Mr. Fitz. Fairfield honoring a familiar face and voice in town Wednesday. News 12 Connecticut's Justin DeVellis reports.
Well, after more than 50 years serving Fairfield University students and STAG student athletes, James Fitzpatrick is retiring. But it's not so much a goodbye as it is a see you soon.
When you think about Fairfield, you think about Jim Fitzpatrick.
First Select Woman Brenda Kupchak declaring February 3rd, 2021, James D. Fitzpatrick Day.
Well, yeah, my hope was that I was always going to be a legend coming out of Fenway Park in Boston.
Yet he still hit home runs for more than half a century, running the Barone Campus Center, mentoring, assisting, and inspiring a countless number of students.
I would have done this for nothing. It's been that much of a great experience for me, so I've been very, very lucky and very, very blessed.
Fitz, the longtime announcer for Stags men's basketball games.
A lot of great memories. Holy Cross game in 1978. We win 123-103 against the 8th-ranked team in the country.
The university community raising over $100,000 to name press row of the new Convocation Center in Fitzpatrick's honor.
He will always have a very special place there for as long as that university stands.
In Fairfield, I'm Justin DeVellis, News 12 Connecticut, Sports.
Fairfield U Athletics Hall of Famer Fitzpatrick spearheading a decades-long volunteer project at Bridgeport's Prospect House and revitalizing the annual spring break service trip to Kentucky.
Low-income communities have been hit hard by this pandemic, and now a vaccination site over in East New York aims to tackle disparities brought about by the pandemic. And News 12's Johnny Caldwell tonight tells us how city officials to make that happen in a story you'll only see on 12.
I don't want to get no coronavirus or CTB, but how people are suffering from those sickness. I don't want to be suffering like that. If I can help myself with the vaccine, I'd do it.
Carmen Lopez is one of dozens of seniors who rolled up their sleeves Thursday at the newly opened COVID vaccination site in NYCHA's Pink Houses.
It's our second day of operations here. Today we've got about 40 appointments booked and it's growing.
The site is a part of a recent push by the city to expand vaccination sites into NYCHA developments, making the COVID vaccine more accessible to low-income communities. This as East New York is one of 10 Brooklyn neighborhoods hit hardest by the pandemic.
Communities that were hardest hit by COVID, particularly communities that experience disparities and health and socioeconomic disparities, are really focused on as we begin to roll out this vaccine.
City data shows that communities of color experience the highest death rates from COVID. And now that there's a vaccine, of those who have been vaccinated, only 15% are Latino and 11% are Black. Officials are hoping to get the shot in the arms of more New Yorkers who bore the brunt of the pandemic with their outreach efforts to boost public trust.
Trusted messengers that we've hired from the community who are actually going door to door to talk to seniors about all of the vaccine hesitancy they have, give them the facts.
But for seniors who have gotten the vaccine, like Karen Caldwell, she says getting vaccinated gives her hope for the future.
It makes me feel that we're going to get through this, that things are only going to get better. We are going to make sure that we put this COVID-19 to rest.
In East New York, Johnny Caldwell, News 12.
Hills of New Jersey have been filled with people riding sleds. That's what I call them. But what exactly do you call them? Do you call it sledding or sleigh riding? News 12's Brian Donahue explains a linguistic quirk that rears its head every winter.
I love sliding down a snowy hill, but the notion always creates a positively New Jersey headache for me, because I just don't know what to call this.
Sledding.
Sledding. Is it sledding or sleigh riding?
It's definitely sleigh riding.
See, growing up in Union Township, everybody I knew, everybody called this sleigh riding. It was only when I went away to college in Boston that I realized the rest of the world thinks we sound like a bunch of people from the 1850s getting ready to hitch up our team of horses with jingle bells. This old photo shows the day I was teased by my college buddies, not for the sled I built out of an old tire and a pair of skis, which was awesome, by the way, but because I referred to the activity as sleigh riding instead of sledding. 30 years later, my buddy Mike on the left, who grew up in Australia, still won't let it lie.
Well, it was sledding, but he called it sleigh riding as though it was something out of Narnia
or the Bavarian wilds where you had horses drawing sleighs. It just didn't seem to fit with what the rest of the conventional world referred to as sledding. In any case, it's just strange, sort of sad actually.
You see what I'm dealing with here? I've called it sledding ever since, because when you're wrong, you're wrong. I mean, this is sledding, this is sleigh riding.
Makes me uncomfortable.
Sledding?
Yeah.
The term sledding?
It just doesn't sound right.
Countering the attack from my college buddies is my brother Billy, who calls me out on this every winter, saying when I use the verb sledding, I'm somehow forgetting where I came from, or something.
No one said sledding.
No one said sledding.
Yeah, only someone who might have moved from somewhere else, and they probably quickly conformed to sleigh riding because they probably were mocked mercilessly by people like us.
Plenty of people who still call it sleigh riding. My sense it's more common in North Jersey. Here's a notice put out by the Atlantic Highlands Police before this week's storm, telling residents not to sleigh ride in the street. You know, it's kind of like the debate over pork roll versus Taylor ham. I grew up calling it Taylor ham, but now that I know that that's not accurate, do I keep calling it Taylor ham just out of stubbornness or out of nostalgia? Maybe that's part of the reason that I now ride this, so I can just say, I'm going tobogganing. I'm Brian Donahue. That's Positively New Jersey.
Well, a Rider University student is honoring American war veterans for the wars they fought abroad and at home. This is a trailer from a documentary in the works called The Two-Front War. It spotlights African-American veterans. It is the work of Rider University junior Danny Jackson, who's directing the project.
So this piece is called A Two-Front War because African-American veterans were forced to fight for democracy overseas, but then still come home and fight for their own civil rights here in America.
Danny launched a successful Kickstarter campaign and now has enough money to finish the project. That should happen in May. Danny Jackson, a college student double majoring in history and film, she has found her place and she's doing Jersey proud.
Well, as the state tries to build awareness, Bridgeport Hospital is working hand in hand with local community leaders to build trust of the vaccine's safety and effectiveness. News 12 Connecticut's Karen Pinto spoke with a local clergyman about efforts to win over skeptics.
Doctors here at Bridgeport Hospital worked with the NAACP of the greater Bridgeport area to make sure that they can get out facts, not fiction, when it comes to getting the COVID-19 vaccine.
Last year, healthcare professionals didn't think Reverend D. Stanley Lord would survive.
They had placed me in a coma, had double pneumonia.
He was in a medically induced coma for 21 days, but tested negative for COVID-19.
I would get the vaccine regardless, once I've been educated about it, but knowing that it can be a preventative tool, oh yeah, I'm taking it.
Lots of questions were answered in the virtual town hall. Many wanted to know more about the expediency of the vaccine production.
They've yet to get a vaccine for HIV. Why now do we have a vaccine, but they don't understand the total science behind this new vaccine?
Tisha Johnson, the director for the Yale Center for Clinical Investigation, says the vaccine research was done carefully and safely.
The process wasn't rushed in any way. It's that people were working around the clock to solve for this pandemic.
Johnson understands the minority community's skepticism.
We've had the history of the mistrust in research for so long that shadows, I think, the consideration of participation.
Reverend Lord asks that you do your research before you decide what's best for you.
Read more, listen to Dr. Fauci, listen to the professionals, not the naysayers or not people who really don't know, who really don't even have a degree to be able to tell us anything. So do your research.
Reverend Lord says that as soon as he is eligible, he'll be getting the vaccine. In Bridgeport, Karen Pinto, News 12 Connecticut.